In today's lesson, we are going to be discussing what is a variable, how is it created, how can we use it once we create it, and how to overwrite variables. First, what is a variable? Let's look at doing a basic calculation, 4 plus 5. So the answer to 4 plus 5 is 9. MATLAB stores the answer 9 in a variable ands, so that if I want to use it later, I can say, for example, ands plus 1. If ands is 9, that means ands plus 1 should be 10, and MATLAB gives us 10. Now if you check out the workspace, we have a variable ands with a value of 10, and that is what variables are. They store values. So variable names can really be anything. They are always going to be on the left side of the equal sign. So for example, I can have cat equals 10 plus 10 plus 3. And now cat is equal to 23. MATLAB has created the variable cat and stored it with a value of 23 in the workspace. However, when we do put variables on the left side of our equal sign, they have to start with a letter. I can say, for example, name underscore 4 equals 43. So this variable, name underscore 4, equals the value of 43. And now it's created in the workspace. But look at what happens if I try to flip that. 4 underscore name equals 43. Now MATLAB gives me the error that this is invalid. I cannot start this with a number, even if I say 4 name equals 43. It will give me error. So the left side of the expression should start with a letter. I'm going to make a variable called new and set it equal to 3 plus 4. So now new equals 7. So checking out our workspace, we created a couple variables up here. We have ands, cat, name underscore 4, and new with their respective values here. What if I wanted to add together the variables cat and new, which equal respectively 7 and 23, and store them in a new variable called new cat? Well, I can make a variable called new cat and set it equal to cat plus new. New cat is now a new variable in the workspace, which has a value of 30 because I added together new and cat. I could have called it anything else. I could have called it equation and set it equal to cat plus new, and that still equaled 30. And now equation is made and it still equals 30. Once we have a variable in the workspace, we can use it further in other more complicated equations. So this was an example of how we can use variables once we create them, as well as on the right side of the equal sign, I had just letters here. But up here, on the right side of my equal sign, I had numbers. So you can have a mix of letters, numbers, or both. For example, I can have new variable equals cat plus 10. And recall cat was a variable that equaled 23. And if I add 10, we now have 33, which is equal to our variable new variable. So this is how we can have a mix of numbers and letters, or just numbers on the right side of the equal sign. And all of these variables are now being made and stored in the workplace with their respective values. Now let's talk about overwriting variables. Say I have a equals 5. I can make another variable called b equals 5. And a and b both equal 5, which is fine. You can have more than one variable equaling the same number. So if you look at the workspace, it has created both a and b set equal to the value 5. But what if I wanted to change the value of b? I didn't want it to equal 5 anymore. Do I have to clear b out of the workspace and then rewrite it? No. All we have to do is put in our newest variable, say b equals 6. Now the workspace will change it to b equals 6 instead of 5, and it will overwrite the previous value of b. This is the first instance of overwriting variables, where you want to store a different value in the same variable. So instead of storing the value 5 with b, I now changed it to 6, and MATLAB overwrote it. Now going back to what I said about using variables once we created them, we have the variable a. So what if instead of b equaling 6, I wanted it to equal 2 times that of a? If a is now 5, 2 times a should give us 10. Now b is equal to the value of 10 instead of 6, and MATLAB has overwrote it here. So this is an example of how we can use a mix of numbers and letters when we set a variable equal to an expression. This also shows how we can overwrite variables and how we use them once they're created, such as we just used the value of a equals 5 in our equation for b. So that was all for today. If this video helped you, please leave a thumbs up, and I will leave a link in the description below to the related blog post. Thanks for watching.